it's Emma, and I know I gave you some bummed out news the other day when I said I could no longer brew water kefir for you, but I am pumped that I am preparing my grains to be delivered to your home so that you can keep all this wellness going. So I received 2 different email responses to my announcement. One was just an influx of people who have just been seeing transformations in their health journey by adding water kefir to it. 2 was a bunch of people saying, I want this stuff, but I am freaked out to have bacteria in my house and I have no idea what to do. I totally get it. That was me 3 years ago. So I wanted to shoot a video to show you just how easy it is. When you order my kefir grains, you are not only going to get the kefir grains, but you're going to get a massive ebook. And that literally says any and everything I've learned in these 3 years of brewing it myself. So while I don't think that you will come across anything that hasn't been written about in that book, you know you always have me as a resource. So I will be your coach to guide you through this so you can do it. Now I send you dehydrated grains. I have let them air dry naturally. They never come in contact with heat because that would kill them. The reason I don't ship them fresh is because they're very delicate in that state. And by drying them, I can ensure that they're going to get to you without being injured. Now, drying does nothing with the potency of them. It just causes them to go into a dormant state, and you just need to wake them up. So I'm going to walk you through that waking up process, and then I'm going to walk you through brewing it and flavoring it at your home. So things you're going to need. I love 32-ounce mason jars. You're going to need a cheesecloth, something breathable with a rubber band, and you're going to need some sugar and obviously your grains. So the first thing you do is you dump your sugar, which I give you instructions about how much, and my ebook will kind of talk to you about which ones to use, which ones not to use. So I never measure, but I put about half a cup of hot water in here, and that just helps the sugar dissolve because we want this process to be as fast as we can. You want to make sure when you add the rest of the water in here that you're adding cold water. Water kefir grains love about 70-degree temperature, kind of like me. So, I mean, if you want, you can take a thermometer to do it, but I usually just do a finger test. And if it feels too hot for me to have my finger in there, I know I need to, add an ice cube or just wait a second. You want to make sure that the sugar gets completely dissolved. You don't want your grains to have to work to get their food. You want them to work to produce more probiotics for you. All right, so I'm going to fill the rest up with cold water, and I would not fill it all the way up to the brim just because you have to add the grains in there. Afterwards, you can always add a little bit more. All right, so there's my sugar water. I discuss why you need to have sugar. You can't use anything else in my ebook. If you're freaked out that you just added 1/4 cup to this water you're going to eventually be drinking, just know that I've had it tested. I add 60 grams, this is 60 grams of sugar, to my batches, and at the end of the fermentation process, if you're doing it correctly, there are 2 to 5 grams left in the entire bottle, all right? Sugar's not for you, it's for the bacteria. So then you just take your grains, and you dump them in, make sure you get all of them out, make sure they're all in the water. Then you're gonna take your cheesecloth, put it over top. Now this has 2 functions. The first function is to keep out the fruit flies because ain't nobody got time to be drinking those. And 2, your grains need oxygen. So this is going to help them breathe a little bit. So because you have dehydrated grains, these need about 3 to 4 days to wake back up. So I would sit them somewhere prominent in your kitchen where you're not going to forget about them. And I would sit them somewhere that doesn't get too warm. It's not in direct sunlight, but it is going to be around that 70-degree, room temperature. So I typically, in the winter months, I always have a crock pot going, so I'll set mine next to the crock pot. In summer months, you can just put it right out there. It's not a hard 3 or 4 days. You really are going to have to use your senses as you become water kefir brewers. If you start to notice bubbles, that means that they're becoming active. If you smell it and it starts to have a little tang to it, then you know it's ready. So once this is done, you are not going to want to drink this water because this has just been the water that's been waking the grains up. So you're going to take your cheesecloth off. And there is much debate about metal coming in contact with grains. I discussed this in my ebook. I use these plastic mesh strainers I just got off of Amazon. And I'm going to dump the water into the sink. And I have all my grains right there. All right, so they are ready to go. We never have to do that 4-day process again unless you buy more dehydrated grains. All right, so we're just going to go through this again. All right, I'm going to take my sugar, 1/4 cup. See, you guys are pros now that you're seeing around too. All right, I'm going to add my hot water. And you can time me right now. I mean, this is all you have to do every 2 days. All right, dissolve it. I should quiz you guys on what's going to happen next. All right, once that's dissolved, I'm going to add my cold water to it. Cold, cold, cold. Again, just remembering not to fill it all the way up to the brim. You want to have space for those grains. All right, the finale, add your grains to it. And put your cheesecloth on. This time, instead of 4 days, your guys are going to be ready in 2 days. So write it in your planner. I have a chalkboard calendar up in our mudroom, and I will write it on that. Or just set it out somewhere where you're going to be so that you can remember to do that. All right, so once that is done after 2 days, I think the first thing you should do is take a little sip of it. If it's too sweet, it means that the bacteria has not eaten up all that sugar, so you need to let it sit a little bit longer. I go into all that detail in the ebook. All right, so let's just pretend it's ready. So here we go. We have this again. All right, so one thing I highly recommend getting are these swing top bottles. They are amazing. You can get, I think, like 12 of them on Amazon. I just ordered a batch of 6 of them, Amazon Prime. And then I have a silicone funnel. Plastic funnel will work too. And I love this strainer because you can just put this right on top. So I'm going to take this water, my water kefir, and pour it. Hopefully not spill too much. All right, so that is going to fill up this swing top bottle. And this is when all the fun begins, because this is when you can really cater it to your liking by adding the flavoring. All right, so I got all that in there. You're going to have your grains, and I've already done that process twice, so I feel like you have it now. So you would do the sugar, add it back in, put the cheesecloth on, let it go for 2 days. This part is when you get to flavor it. Now, you can straight up just drink this right now. It's ready to go. But it's going to be relatively flat because majority of the CO2 production is going to happen with a closed top environment and when you add flavor to it. So, I mean, possibilities are endless. I have recipes in my ebook that you can use, but really you can throw anything in there that you think is going to taste good. So, I'm shooting this video during the winter months, so I want to put some elderberry in there. The only thing that's a little annoying about these tops is that when you put little things, little herbs in there, your fingers can't fit all the way in. If you're putting fruit in, like strawberries, make sure you cut it up really thin so that you can eventually get all the strawberries out. I've had things stuck in there before. All right, so I have some elderberry, and hibiscus is hands down my favorite. So I'm going to put a little hibiscus in. I typically put about a tablespoon of flavoring in. That seems to work well for these herbs. All right, so I won't sit there and do that all day. All right, put that swing top on. Now you can put this straight in the fridge. That's going to result in not so much CO2 production, or you can leave this out for up to 24 hours. Just make sure after those 24 hours that you burp this before you put it into the fridge, or else you might have an explosion. All right, you can leave the flavoring in there and just drink it. I do that a lot with fruit. This, I will probably take my strainer, and that's why I have multiple ones of these, and dump that into a new one, and then put it in the fridge, and voila, it's ready to go. All right, so I hope that wasn't too complicated. Remember, when you first get the grains, they're dehydrated, so it's going to take a little bit longer to do. But afterwards, you just have this 4-day process going, and here you are. All right, so if you have any questions, reach out to me. I really hope that you consider getting these grains into your home and brewing this stuff yourself. So thank you, guys.